Joining us now on the line is KT McFarland, national security analyst, works on the Fox News Channel. Always good to come on and talk about national security issues. We got one. I mean, there's no more important, I think, national security issue right now than whether or not we should allow Iran to continue with its nuclear program, given the fact that they have said publicly that they would like to destroy Israel. And so, KT, we hear that a deal is in the works. In fact, we hear talk that there may even be a deal that's not on paper, some kind of secret deal. What is going on?
Yeah, for a guy who's supposed to be such a great poker player, President Obama sure turned out to be a lousy negotiator. We were treated to the spectacle this week of the Iranian president tweeting to the world that world powers have surrendered to the Iranian nation's will. It's time for a reality check. President Obama and President Rouhani seem to have signed the same agreement. We don't quite know what it is yet, but it sure doesn't sound like it, because there's only one issue in that agreement that really matters. Will Iran give up its nuclear program, like you said? And Obama said, yeah, they're going to give it up. They're going to roll it back. And according to Rouhani, no, they're not. So the fundamental issue of this deal, we're not quite sure who's agreed to what. And the fact that part of the nuclear deal, the interim agreement, doesn't seem to have been written down on paper. If it's written down on paper, it certainly hasn't been shared with anybody. And the devil will be in the details of this, because it's not just what are the speeches everybody's making, but what's the reality? Is Iran really going to roll back part of its program?
I mean, one wonders if there's sort of a wink and a nod. If you do this, then we can't actually put it on paper, but we will do that. I mean, if that's the case,
wink and a nod is not how you conduct.
That's exactly my point. Yeah,
and it's certainly not how you deal with something like the development of nuclear weapons. And when the Senate, a number of senators from both political parties are considering legislation that would reimpose sanctions should Iran either break the deal or continue their nuclear weapons program, President Obama has not only threatened to veto it, but he said if the Senate does it, it'll lead to war. So I just want to see if I got this right. If Iran reneges on this new agreement, they should be allowed to get away with reneging, right? Because any penalty to them would cause them to go to war with us.
Yeah.
But to me, it fits into a bigger pattern, which is that the Obama administration politics is the only thing that really counts.
KT McFarland, yeah, we got senators lining up, many of them with D's at the end of their name, wanting to impose further sanctions on Iran. The president was asked about that yesterday. He said, no, that's a bad idea. We shouldn't do that. And then he finished his statement with this.
Give peace a chance.
Give peace a chance. Now, we don't know if Yoko Ono is going to sue on behalf of the Lennon estate, but is a John Lennon song lyric really enough of a foreign policy here when you're talking about Iran and nukes?
Well, it sounds terribly reminiscent of Chamberlain with Hitler at Munich. Look, the Iran deal makes it really clear we're leaving that region, and we're leaving Iran in charge. They're the new alpha dog in the Middle East. And the mere suggestion that we're going to drop sanctions has led to a surge in the Iranian economy. Their stock market is up 133% in the last couple of weeks. Companies which have been prevented from doing business with Iran are now lining up to resume trade. And so thanks to this agreement, this give peace a chance, Iran's economy is going to boom. Their coffers are going to be plump enough to resume funding for the terrorist groups throughout the region. And their nuclear program, as far as we can tell from what we've seen so far, their nuclear program gets to continue. The way I've described it is like if you have a popcorn machine and you got a bowl of popcorn already popped and you got a bowl of kernels not yet popped. What has this deal done? We've given them a lot of money for that bowl of popcorn, but they're not giving back the machine, and they're certainly not giving back the kernels. They can just pop more popcorn.
What's infuriating to so many people is, you've got Kerry and Obama using all this really nice, diplomatic, give peace a chance kind of language. Meanwhile, the saber rattling continues from the Iranians. Their defense minister actually laid a wreath at the grave of the guy who killed Americans yesterday. I mean, when do they step up and actually start showing some diplomacy?
Well, they're not, and they've been entirely consistent throughout. President Rouhani came to New York in September when he went to the United Nations, and there was a group of foreign policy experts who met with him, including myself. Yeah. He said two things. The Iranian people had elected him to improve economic relations with the United States. That's like code for saying, we want you guys to drop the sanctions. And two, Iran had the right to master the nuclear fuel cycle. And what that's code for is we're going to go ahead with our nuclear program. Oh. And it looks like in this great deal, give peace a chance, they've gotten exactly what we've wanted. But the end result of this is that we are going to, with our blessing, Iran is going to become a threshold nuclear state. other states in the region will look at Iran and say, well, you're a de facto nuclear
Right.
power. We're going to get our own nukes. Even poor Egypt has said that they're going to have a nuclear program. The Saudis, others have said the same. So this deal is supposed to prevent a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. It's going to accelerate one.
All right, we just got about just a little bit of time left. I want to ask you this question. Some really strong reporting on Fox News by James Rosen about the Benghazi transcripts from secret Capitol Hill hearings that have involved some of the military leaders. Two things come out of it. Number one, there is little doubt that the military leaders expressed to the White House that this was a terrorist attack. And number two, there is a lot of hemming and hawing about just how detailed the pre-9/11 briefing was. It turned out it was a conference call, and Libya wasn't even mentioned.
Look, my apartment building in New York City had more security ramp up on September 11th than the consulate in Benghazi did. And we now know that within hours, probably within minutes, the president knew that the attack in Benghazi was a terrorist attack by al-Qaeda affiliates. And then for weeks, in fact, even including up until today, they continue to lie and say, oh no, it was a spontaneous demonstration that got out of hand as a result of an obscure YouTube video. Again, it was all about politics. If that Benghazi attack had happened after the U.S. presidential election, maybe it would have been a different response. But the fact was, President Obama was running for re-election on the pledge that al-Qaeda was on the ropes, and an al-Qaeda affiliated attack just didn't fit in with that narrative.
All right, KT, thank you.